My name is Peyton Roan, and I attend the Hazel Grove Elementary School in Kansas City, Kansas. Welcome to the 2014 My Brother's Keeper listening session hosted by Aim for Peace. Thank you for coming out to discuss matters of my future and of my friends in Kansas City. Wow, it is so good to see so many grown-ups this early in the morning. And I'm not even in school, but because me and my friends are truly important to you.
And welcome to Kansas City's My Brother's Keepers listening session. I am Rodney Smith.
Good morning, buenos dias. I am Uciel Pesina.
And we will serve as your MCs for this morning. Dr. Pesina and I work together at UMKC. In particular, I work in what most of you know probably as the Center for Academic Development. We just recently had a name change to Academic Support and Mentoring. But perhaps what's most important, or what qualifies us to be here today, is that we advise and direct the Men of Color Campus Initiative at UMKC's campus. And so we've been doing that for the past 2 years. And we're excited about it. And we're excited about today.
First and foremost, let me thank you all for being here today. We've done a lot of these listening sessions across the country, and we're going to continue to do more in cities across the states. This one is personal for me, having grown up in the state, went to school down the street. Yes, I know, I'm from St. Louis, went to KU, I know it's weird. But it is personal. It's personal to be back here. I started my political career here on the 2004 presidential campaign right here in Kansas City, Missouri. So to be back in this environment is very personal and awesome. We've done a lot of these again, but to be in Kansas City is something that's special. And let me also, the best part about these listening sessions as we've done them is the ability to see and hear from these young men. And to see a lot of them in the room today is pretty neat. I'm very excited to hear from them as we continue to move forward. So let's give a round of applause also to our young men in the room who are here. Let me also just thank Dr. Smith for the introduction, just for all the work that he's doing to put this together. Aim for Peace, the mayor of the city of Kansas City, the Kauffman Foundation, which is my first time here, and this is just a beautiful facility. Like he said, and let me also just highlight too, I just think it's important to say, talk about St. Louis for 10 seconds. That's my home, and to see what's going on right there right now is touching me personally. And so one, I just want all of us to keep our thoughts and prayers with the family of Mike Brown in our thoughts and prayers is very, very important. And one of the beauties of getting this group together today is, the way we respond to certain things is really, really important. And peaceful protests is something that must be urged back home. And so if you're back home and you hear me, please let's make sure we keep everything peaceful. Feel free to make your voice heard. That's what this country is about, but let's make sure that we keep everything peaceful. So I just wanted to put that out there as we talk about St. Louis as well, too. On behalf of the president, again, thank you. This is something that My Brother's Keeper, this initiative is something that's very, very important to the president, central to the president, and it's the reason why I'm here today, to continue to, again, travel across this country and talk about how we can do this. One of the things that we're doing in June, we came out with a task force report, and he just talked about the key milestones that we highlighted in that report. What we're doing now in the government is looking at what are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we're able to push forward on those key milestones. But what's really important, and one of the things that we want to help do and why it's important to get this room together, is how can we make sure that we're doing these key milestones and implementing them at the local level. So being in cities like Kansas City, working with all different communities, bringing everyone together to talk about how can we come together and keep pushing forward on this is something that's important to the president, something that's important to the administration, and something that we want to look forward to continue to do. So really what we're here to do today is continue a national conversation how we can build that system in the country. And the thing about My Brother's Keeper is not a new initiative. A lot of great work has been going on for many years by many folks in this room. You heard Dr. Smith talk about a lot of his past and how he's been working on these issues for a long time. Hopefully what we can do from the administration is really lift that up and highlight it and get folks to coalesce around how can we in Kansas City all push forward and everyone take a piece of responsibility in making sure that we are hitting these milestones, highlighting things that can happen for our young men and boys of color, which ultimately helps everyone succeed, which is something that is important that we highlight as well too. I want to talk about what the president said when this initiative was launched on February 27, 2014, and this is a quote from him. The need of this initiative was, quote, helping more of our young people stay on track, providing the support they need to think more broadly about their future, building on what works when it works, in those critical life-changing moments. My Brother's Keeper is based on the core idea behind this presidency. If you work hard, if you take responsibility, then you can make it in this country. And everything that the president has done to date is really built around, again, if you work hard and play by the rules, you can make it in this country. And so you will see as we continue to move forward in this administration, a lot of the things that we're going to do is really connected, right? I've had the opportunity to work on the Affordable Care Act and its implementation and making sure people get covered. At the end of the day, if you have health insurance, that is one of the things you said, getting a healthy start, entering school ready to learn, right? Having health insurance is part of that. So many different initiatives that we're going to continue to do and policies that we're going to continue to push from the federal government is going to be around that. But again, what's going to be really, really important will be to work with communities to say, how can we implement those things locally and really help support the work that's going on from our level to make sure we're giving you the support you need to do it in cities like Kansas City. So the next few hours we're going to be devoted to looking at successes and challenges on the milestones that Dr. Smith mentioned. We need to continue to find the strategies and tools to keep KC moving forward, thriving and striving for success for all. And what I definitely want to hear is I'm going to take notes and continue to bring them back because, again, in June we came out with our task force report, but now what we're trying to do is make sure those things are implemented. And so continuing to hear what's happening in the community, continuing to hear what's working, what's not, will allow us to do our work better in supporting you at the White House. And to your point, it's pretty awesome to work at the White House. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I know your Royals are doing good. But for a few reasons. One, people ask me what was my favorite day at the White House, and I'll say so far it was April 1st when we realized that over 7 million people and now over 8 million people were able to get covered under the Affordable Care Act. But it wasn't, and that was an awesome day, and it wasn't because we hit some number or we did this. It was because, or we met some expectation from the press. It was because 8 million people now have access to quality affordable insurance. And we get stories every single day from young people who now are covered for the first time, able to take care of any health issues they had, or able just to protect themselves from any health issues that could come up in the future. And so those are the kind of moments for me that make me just very proud of where I get a chance to work, and every day when I leave, take a look at the building, I'm reminded of those stories that we hear. I'm reminded of the stories that we hear of young men and boys of color who've written to us and have talked to us at these listening sessions who are just so excited about what the president is doing and happy that this acknowledgement is being raised in the public sphere across this country. That's why I'm excited to participate and work where I do right now. So again, I want to thank everyone for what you're doing and for letting us be here today. And let me close by saying, I also believe that it's important to highlight that while this initiative and the launch of it happened, earlier this year, the work that has been going on around issues facing young men and boys of color has been happening for decades. My mom she's retired now, 36-year school teacher in St. Louis, Missouri, downtown St. Louis, teaching young people of color, 4th grade, all the time. We need to support folks like my mother. And hopefully by having that in this initiative and keep on raising it and being able to bring meetings like this together across the country, we're able to do that because folks like my mother are really helping these young kids. And when we're able to do and put together these programs and really highlight things that have been working for many, many years, our kids are going to be successful moving forward. And it's awesome to see, again, so many folks from today. So on behalf of the White House and the President, thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing us to be here and listen to this listening session today, and know that I will take your notes back and let us continue to know how we can help move forward what's best for Kansas City as we continue. Thank you.
Next, we will be watching an amazing video. I'd like to preface it by mentioning that the three young men of color featured in this video are a part of a program called Higher Impact, a community-based nonprofit organization whose vision is to transform high-risk urban youth into tomorrow's leaders. Special thanks to Link, who shot and edited the video, and to Higher Impact, who produced the video. Please watch.
Through it, just trying to maintain, survive, stay out of trouble. Young men out here doing, pretty much any and everything to make $1. And, I just see everything kind of going downhill. It's like it's almost no hope.
The challenges that us young men go through, but that's not an experience I would want on my worst enemy.
I skipped school. It was the point where I had got straight F's. I was on drugs. And I remember kind of being envious or jealous of who I used to be.
I have witnessed, just so much in my community, and not only in my community, but in my life, just living.
If you're an African American, especially youth, your environment, it involves with you in your comfort zone. If you're not comfortable in your environment, of course you're gonna be paranoid. Of course you're gonna feel like, oh, I need to carry a gun because I don't know what's gonna happen over in this area.
Everybody wants to be an athlete, or everybody wants to be a rapper. And in the urban community, that's who basically all the young people are looking up to. They ain't looking up to like the lawyers or the doctors.
It's like they don't believe it. It's something that they don't see. They don't see that every day. What they see is Uncle Tone getting out of prison, but the whole time he was in prison, we heard stories about how he was balling and doing this and doing that. And that's all we got, It takes a father figure or somebody to look at you and give you that respect for you to have that respect for yourself. A lot of us have abandonment issues. Fathers that ran out on us, mothers that's on drugs, and those two right there are the main two. That's the key point.
My dad left when I was maybe 5, 6 years old, and that made me feel like, what do I have left? I was out here doing everything under the sun. And I don't want to see our future go down the drain because of stuff that we're doing, they're watching.
But my mind frame, and this is just the truth, I went to jail for a year, and when I was away from my son, I noticed that, I was okay, to be honest. And I'm just saying that because I had money on my books. I'm walking around with my chest out, head up, doing my time. But when I got home and seen that little boy look at me and say, "Daddy, you left me," And it ain't that I wanted to leave him. It ain't that I didn't care. I didn't have a choice, I was put in a position to where it was, hey, you can't come up with this money, go lay down and do your time.
They don't know what we're going through. They don't know how it is. They don't know anything. But they want to tell us, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that, when we don't have the supplies to do what you're saying we need to do, or I don't live in a type of environment where I can do what you're asking me to do or what you're suggesting me to do. And like I said, I feel like if they listen more, they would understand us. They would understand why we do the things we do.
Because they don't want to deal with it. Don't nobody want a neighbor that's going to rob them when they gone, And if that's how you think about your fellow brother or the young man across the street, you're not gonna have any respect for him. So you're not gonna care whether he dies or whether he lives. You hear gunshots, oh, it's just them little niggas down the street. You're not calling the police saying, hey, I hear gunshots. I'm worried about the young brothers down the street because I know they good guys or nothing like that. You more on some, get them out the way.
We do need somebody on our side that's gonna be there for us. Because if we don't, we're gonna feel like, well, I'm all I got. What do I have to live for?
Just making sure that those resources, that when we do have young men and women who are willing to go above and beyond, who are willing to make change, who are willing to make an impact, that they can have those type of avenues. Like college, everybody can't go to college because everybody ain't got the money for college.
And if we don't have the techniques or the means to go out here and work like a real job, it's just more easier to go out here and just say, well, I don't care, or forget it. That's where young men get that saying where it's like, F it, forget it, because it's easier to do it. It's easier to say, forget it,
We need individuals who are for the cause, who want to make change, who want to impact, and who are serious and who are real about it.
First off, get something that will snatch their attention outside of sports, And I say outside of sports because, that should be a hobby, That should be a fun thing. I want something that's gonna not grab our talents, but grab our souls.
That video, it kind of highlights some things actually that we kind of know, we already know, but it was just really refreshing to hear it coming from them. Because a lot of times as adults, us being parents, we take on this paternalistic position with our youth, which I think in some regards creates a chasm between the youth and the young people because we're always telling them what they should do, as the young man said, and not listening to them. And so in this being a listening session today, we're going to have this panel discussion right now where we're going to listen to the youth. Yeah, we have some elected officials that's a part of the panel, but Tyrone Fletcher is going to be facilitating the conversation. Tyrone Flowers will be facilitating the conversation, and he and I were talking yesterday, and we don't mean any disrespect to the public officials who are going to be on the panel, but we want to let the young men speak first. Because we want to hear from them. And then also I want to let the audience know that at the end of the panel, 15 minutes before the panel closes, we will open it up to you guys because this is a community conversation. And I'm really excited to see so many community members here because like we always say, like I said earlier, we often say, we need to come together, we need to come together. But we have come together this morning. We have. And so, but we have to walk away with some things to do as a result of us coming together because, yes, the conversation needs to be had and continuously had, but we also need to be doing things. So I'd like the panelists to come on up. Mayor Sly James is going to be on the panel. Tony Liu, who is a student at Northeast High School, will be a panelist. Commissioner Terrence Maddox from Kansas City, Kansas. He's a commissioner from Kansas City, Kansas. Luis Reyes from UMKC, who's a student of Men of Color Campus Initiative. Chief Darrell Forte, Kansas City Police Department. Scott Krauser, who represents the Lakota Tribe Native Americans. Chief Ellen Hansen, of course, the police chief for Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, and Odell Jackson, who is an alumni of Higher Impact Leaders of Tomorrow. So I'd like for these gentlemen to join us at the panel. And ladies, I'm sorry. And I'll say this and I'll get out of the way, Tyrone. I remember there was a picture floating around the internet about a year ago, 2 years ago. President Obama was having some guests in the Oval Office. And one of the guests, as they get prepared, I'll share the story. One of the guests was a young man of color who was 7 or 8 years old. And in the picture, I don't know, many of you probably saw it, President Obama was leaning over and the young man was rubbing his hair. I remember you saw that picture. I often wonder what that young man will be one day, because I believe what he was doing was confirming the fact that you're just like me. He was confirming the fact. He had heard, but he wanted to find out for himself that this man is just like me. And now that we have a man of color who is the leader of the free world, who is the most powerful man in the world, as president, now our young men of color can truly aspire to something like that because they have an example of one. There again, students will be what they see. Young men, take this opportunity to talk to Mayor James, to talk to Chief Forte, to talk to these people, to talk to Tyrone Flowers. These are examples of people that you can be. If you see it, you can be it. So don't take this opportunity lightly. I know we're on this panel to have a discussion in a public way, but in your private moments with these gentlemen, pull them to the side and talk about their life, because I'm sure that they've not always, Mayor James hadn't always been the mayor. He used to be a little boy named Slide James one time. Believe that. Tyrone?
First of all, it is an honor to be a part of this initiative and be able to share. Again, my name is Tyrone Flowers. And before I get started, I would like to give thanks to those young men that did that video, Odell Jackson. We have Courtney Coleman, who's in the room. Courtney, stand up. And Antonius, unfortunately, couldn't be with us today, but we'd like to thank Antonius too. Again, this is a youth listening session. And in the brochure it says we're building a ladder to success, but this is the first step. And what we would like to hear from is where these kids are at, and then that way we can build on it. Because we was fortunate to see the video and to see the perspective from some African-American youth, we're gonna address our first question to Luis and see from a Hispanic perspective, what do you feel are some of the challenges that young boys and men of color from the Hispanic perspective?
You guys hear me?
Mike.
Hello? Ooh, okay. Well, I feel like some challenges that Hispanics usually have is, you know, we as Hispanics have an issue of not trying to outshine our family and all that stuff. We at times try to respect our family members and not outdo what they did and all that. We hear the same stories as African Americans where we hear our family members going to jail and we hear how bad they were and all that stuff. Other issues is that we don't really truly we are very at a disadvantage from not being able to get as many resources or as much time and effort. We have to put double or maybe 10 times more into being able to reach the average student at least, or be able to understand what they're trying to say and all that stuff. And that's where we feel like our pride comes into an issue, and we feel like our pride is going down while we're trying to get a better knowledge. But at times we have to do that. So that's where I feel like some problems come into.
Okay. Now we're gonna ask Tony, who's an Asian American, and he's gonna share with some of the challenges and obstacles that the Asian men and boys of color may face.
Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Tony Liu from Kansas City Public School, Superintendent Green. I came from growing up at Gladstone Elementary, right there close to Van Brunt, just being another one of those students who just got pushed into a different ethnicity race because there wasn't really that much of my kind there. So I got pushed more to the Hispanic side. And I just became kind of well known for being like hang out with the Hispanics. That's fine with me. Outgoing, so. But what I feel like should be focused a little more is being addressed at what kind of race you are. You don't see someone trying to be some other race that they are trying to be, or just because they got fit in there. They want to be loud and proud of what they are. If you're Asian, I'm gonna admit it. I'm loud and proud of it. And that's why I feel that it's kind of important.
What are some of the challenges that they face in the community?
Some of the challenges are you're not really, you don't really have anyone else around the same ethnicity as you. You don't really have anyone to speak to with that same race. It's very rare. Growing up in Kansas City Public School for about 13 years, I met about 4 Vietnamese that I could actually speak to, but that was at a young age, and they all moved away, so. And another challenge would be just dealing with criticism sometimes, because you're forced into a different race. They're just like, oh, you're that Asian who's Hispanic, right? I'm like, no, I'm Asian. You see the eyes? So.
Okay. All right. Now, Scott, we would like to ask you the same question. Scott is Native American. Could you share with the audience just some of the challenges and obstacles that you face being a Native American?
Well, some of the challenges that us as a people face is the loss of the language and the ceremonies and our identity as a people. We get made fun of a lot and called names for the way we keep our hair and look, and people just like that and fun of us like that.
Now, Odell, we heard a lot from you on the video, but would you like to elaborate on some things as far as some of the challenges?
Well, mainly, as you know, the video has shown, the main challenges that, from my background and can speak of as a African-American young man growing up in Missouri is our environment. You know, sometimes you're stuck in this world that you really can't get out. Like, I really didn't know too much about out south before 2006. I didn't know what 100th Street was. You know, I'm like, man, I'm out of town. Where we going, T? You know, I'm like, you know, because I was stuck on 27th Street. That was my world. I didn't think of nothing else outside 27th Street. I got 9 liquor stores within an 8-block radius. I'm good. You know, we can go grab some clothes from cousin Big Pete house. He got a couple old shoes we can slide on, you know, so I'm just kind of stuck in that atmosphere to where I don't think any greater, you know. So I would say our biggest challenges is kind of getting these youth to expand their minds. Like the brother said up here before, I heard that and I was like, yeah, that's a big aspect of life, you know.
Would any of the officials like to respond to some of the responses that the youth shared?
Well, I think one of the things that you failed to mention, Odell, is what did you just tell me when we saw each other this morning? What happened in your life recently?
I was introduced to the love of my life. You know, I got married actually. I'm only 25 years old. James, it took brothers like, you know, Tyrone to introduce me to that, to show what I was worth. Before, I probably wouldn't have been married.
Yeah. And I hope you feel the same way about Tyrone 30 years from now. I trust you will.
There you go.
You know, I don't have a response because I think you are right. I think it's time to listen, but I do think that it's interesting to hear that there is a common thread of a lack of interaction with people that you feel can be of some guidance, and I think that's one place where we can help. I do want to thank Aim for Peace and all of the sponsors for putting this together. I think that was extremely important. And Marlon, thanks for being in Kansas City. I had the honor of being at the White House when the president announced My Brother's Keeper, and it has been a growing initiative ever since. Those things that we can do are things that we will try to do. And I'm very interested to hear more about what you need and want so that we can be responsive to that. A lot of times, particularly in government, and it's not intentional, it's simply the nature of the beast, that we have things that absolutely have to get done, and sometimes we start thinking that we have answers. But really what we have are more questions, and we're trying to find answers. But in the breach, we fill in where we can. So please share with us more. Let us know what's going on. And one last thing to follow up with Marlon. And you know, the situation in St. Louis is volatile. A lot of people have asked me, what are we going to do if it happens here? And my response is, I am much more comfortable with our situation in light of the leadership of Chief Forte. Because I know that as we were selecting our new chief and talking to Chief Forte and working with him the last 3 years, that his focus has been and remains to be engaged in the community in a way that the police department has not previously been engaged. And I think that that engagement is one of those things that we can do to prevent those types of situations that happen in St. Louis from occurring. In the unfortunate event that we do have a tragic circumstance like that, then the one thing that I would think that we would do differently in Kansas City as opposed to others is that we would immediately come together to try to resolve the issue and not engage in violent acts or things of destruction simply because it does no good. And the things that usually get destroyed are the ones that are last to be rebuilt anyhow, so it doesn't make much good to do that. But because of Chief Forte and the leadership that he's shown and the things that he's done with his police department, I'm very comfortable thinking that those types of incidents in Kansas City would be very rare indeed.
Okay. Well, before I get to the chiefs, I'm going to ask one more question to the youth, and you guys can respond to that. We talked about role models, and I know me personally, finding someone to look up to and admire and respect and model yourself after is a challenge. Could you guys speak to the fact of, do you feel that you have the role models in the community that you can model yourself after in order to be successful? We can start with you, Tony.
Well, growing up, I had a male mentoring group that was considered a mentor to me. I met several people at Northeast. My principal was part of it. At the current time was Mr. Peoples, I believe. And I met a brother of mine, Brother Osco, who I keep in touch with every now and then. But after 7th and 8th grade, the program kind of fell off, and I had to rely on something else. And I found JRTC, which is a citizenship class. And that's where I kind of just stood up from there, became my own person, and I found organization something that I'm passionate about, which was entrepreneurship. And I realized I had to stand up and do what I got to do at the end of the day, and I got to focus on what I need. So mentoring, to me, I only found it for a couple years, but I do know and understand that it's really important that we need it, and especially in our males in my community.
See some of your other peers who don't have a mentor, the impact that it has on their life or a role model?
I do see the difference when they kind of take the wrong step, when they have no one to look up to, which just kind of make them a little less from where their standards or their potentials could be if they focus on the right path, which they don't, and they kind of just fall back to the wrong side.
Luis?
Well, when growing young, like when I was a little kid, I didn't really have a mentor. I listened to my parents and did everything they told me to because I thought that was the right thing to do, you know? And then they got me into the program Kauffman Scholars, and then that's when I got coaches, and they tell me to keep going forward, keep doing this, keep doing that. At first I was like, okay, well, this gives me free time to do my homework so I can go home, play video games and all that stuff. So I did that and all that. But then later on, I realized that with Kauffman, keep pushing me forward, teaching me time management, teaching me this, teaching me that. I see all my other classmates not knowing, like, what is that? Why are you using a planner and all that stuff? Why don't you just try to memorize it? And I'm like, well, this keeps me organized and it keeps me to keep going forward and all that stuff. I see other classmates dropping out of high school, college, and I'm like, why? And all that stuff. I'm keeping going forward with Kauffman, still keep pushing me, you know. I still got a college coach that keeps telling me, okay, how's class going? Are you doing good? Any classes you don't like? Asking me about my personal life. I'm happy about that because it keeps me realizing that I'm not alone and I got to keep going and bring it back to the community.
Yeah.
My role models are people like my family or Tioshbae, people like my parents, my grandparents, my Uncle Mo, and people at the Kansas City Indian Center. They keep me going and tell me good things, take care of me, care about me, make sure I'm okay.
Will all your peers have mentors or role models?
I think most of them do, but I don't know if all of them do.
Okay. Well, Chief Forte, could you speak to the importance of young men and boys of color having someone to look up to and to model themselves after positive?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to listen to what's been said here. It's very important. In my background, I didn't know my father until I was 13. He was still in and out of my life at that time. My mother had 5 kids before she was 23, never lived in a house with men. But I can tell you the role models, and I won't say their names, but the people that in my life early on, my grandfather died when I was in the 7th grade, but I had other people to take over after that. I can tell you from places that I worked, and when I would do something wrong, they would always say, "You better than that." And then they'd tell my mother, and then she'd beat me. But things like that. But over and over, and I try to be a role model to people too. You know, I come out on Saturday and Sunday and I just ride through the neighborhoods and talk to people because being the first black chief, I think it's important that I'm out there. I was out there before I was chief and didn't get all the attention that I get as chief, but it's so important for all of us, not just black men to take people by the hand younger than us, but all men to take people and raise our people. Raise our people.
Thank you. Yes,
But because it's incumbent on us, we can sit around and we can talk about this person's been in trouble, this person, but there's a lot of people out there that haven't been in trouble because somebody took them by the hand. Somebody shook them and said, no, don't do that, you're better than that. So we have to continue to do that, and we have to reach out. Sometimes, you know, the different backgrounds of everyone up here and some of the people out there, we don't understand people, and we need to listen more because they'll tell you what they want, and they tell you over and over, but we just don't listen because we've gone to school. And you know, somebody talked about a 5-year school program. I had a 4-year program, but that was from a community college. So that's what you're dealing with. So, and I say don't give up. Some of it was part-time, so I'm not slow, but just gotta remember, don't give up. Don't give up. When you have a dream, I knew I wanted to be a police officer in the 6th grade. The 6th grade, I know I wanted to be a police officer, and my mom, bless her heart, she's still alive, she made us bring a book home every day. You couldn't say you didn't have homework. And I had neighbors that said, you know, what are you doing Friday night? And we said, we're gonna ride our bicycles. No, you're gonna come over here and we're gonna read some books. I mean, those things. You know, we talk about the situation in the plaza, everybody's talking about what the city should do. Why don't we have a reading club on Friday night or Saturday night or do something with the kids and not look for the government to do everything? And I know the police department, the police department has a role too in all these young people because the way we treat people out there, sometimes they're having problems, they won't come to us because of the way we treat them for years. So we're out there trying to rebuild those relationships so we can make it better for everybody.
Okay. All righty. And for this, we're short on time, but Chief Hansen, could you speak to the solution that you feel that some young men of color in your community needs or lacking?
I can make it quick, thanks.
There you go.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. And one of the things we spend a lot of time talking about at the KCKPD is how can we, as members of law enforcement, connect in a positive way to help young people of all colors. And, you know, unfortunately, things are going to happen that bring us into contact with a lot of young people in a negative way. We don't even have to work at that. But we have to work at taking and making opportunities to plug in with those kids at a very young age to help them if there are activities, if there, you know, we have plenty of great role models in the police department. We just don't always have the time, the funding, to make it a priority to connect in a positive way. So I think, not only law enforcement, but every adult in every community needs to understand what it takes to give of your own time, to take that special extra effort, to reach out to somebody that maybe we don't understand or we're not alike, or maybe we've never even known anybody like that, and make those opportunities to help.
Thank you very much. Now what we're about to do is open it up for some questions to the audience.
And we have microphones set up here on the far corners of the stage. Or we will have someone bring you a microphone.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Leslie Abbey. I'm grateful to Aim for Peace. I do want to ask the president, what about the girls? I am a psychotherapist, and I provide quality mental health care at Blueford Library at 31st and Prospect. And on Monday nights, I have Teen Chat. And I'd like to invite any man of color to come out and hang with my boys and help me bring these kids out of the hood. They're brilliant young men, and they're driven. I have two boys, Josiah and Jared. They're 14. They're way smarter than I am. But they walk from 31st and Prospect to 40th and Southwest Trafficway to go to the Writer's Place to learn poetry. And I just want to encourage all of you to mentor somebody. These boys, they trust me. I got named the Pied Piper last night because they just follow me everywhere, because they all just want a caring adult to listen and hear their stories. And they were in foster care for 7 years, and they don't even know why they were in there. But they're brilliant, and they're going to make it, and I'm bringing them out of the hood. Thank you for being here.
All right. All right, anybody have a question for the panel?
It is I. I'd like to say to Odell Jackson, you spent some time incarcerated. And I remember the day that you were in the courtroom when your trial was being held, and you looked out there and there were 75 or 80 people in your behalf. Could you explain what went on in your mind at that time so that we can have some idea of what it's not like to have support when you've really maybe done something wrong?
Okay, question was how I felt inside to know that I had support. And I come from a Christian background, so my faith is always in Christ. But to know that it's people out there that actually care about you despite your faults, to have that love, to just see some love, like Christ gave me from my peers, including my grandfather, Jim Nunley, who came just on one phone call. It gives you hope. You sitting in a courtroom, first offense, I didn't do nothing but sell a little firearm because I needed to feed my son, So I'm like, hey, this gun gotta go. I sold a gun to an undercover police officer, and they tried to give me 5 years in federal penitentiary for it, To see somebody actually stand there and say, hey, we may not have the money to post your bond, but we will stand here behind you and let them know that you have people out here to care for you. I think that changed the whole judge's thought of, the sentence he could have gave me. He literally ended up making me sit in the county. I haven't been to a penitentiary, but I sat in the county for a year and a half fighting a case, a Class D felony, gun charge. And my last court date, my whole family, sisters, cousins, aunties, the whole church was there. We cleaned up, we got people standing up in court, order in the court, order to sit down, lady with the blue dress and the big hat on. So just to see that love, it gave me like a little shine, It made me look like, all right, somebody cares. Granddad, I appreciate that.
All right, any other questions?
Hello, my name is Bishop Frank Douglas, and I want to say to whoever was sharing a minute ago, I don't want to bring anybody out of the hood because it's good in the hood. I just want to make the hood better. And I'm just interested and intrigued. In our church, we have an urban initiative, and I would like to know from some of these young men, what might the church be able to do to help?
Luis or Tony?
Hey, I won't be scared to answer that question.
Sure.
Hey, come to the hood. You ain't gotta bring me out the hood. Bring it to the hood, you know? We need that right there in our environment. Change our environment, you know? That's where we live.
What I can say is everyone got to start from somewhere. Why not start from the hood? You can make it to the top, but just make sure when you get back, or when you get to the top, you get back to the community and you can make a change in someone's life.
Good one. Thank you. Any other questions?
You hear me? Okay. Hey, my name is E.B. Wiltz. I have an organization here called Brother for Another. And what I wanted to ask the panel here is how much of the conditions we have here in the inner city is contributed, does the social media contribute to? I know as a parent, I am constantly competing for the interest of my own child in my own house. And I recently had a situation with my daughter that attends school here where she was pursued constantly to fight this little girl, didn't want to fight at all. So she was finally cornered in the bathroom, and they had the cameras out to take pictures of the fight. And the mere fact that when I was growing up, my influences were those people that my parents allowed me to interact with. And it was easy enough for them to say, hey, I don't want you playing with that kid across the street because of the behavior he exhibit. But now we have this whole world of bad influences, and we're inundated by it. It's Real Housewives of this, or Bad Girls Clubs, and all these other things, and we are basically competing for the interest of our children. So being a parent and a concerned member of the community, I would like a little bit more policing of that aspect of it, because our children are inundated with information that they aren't prepared to process.
All right, Luis, would you like to address the impact of social media and some of the challenges that we're facing in our community?
Well, I'm not gonna lie and say social media isn't bad, because social media is bad. I'm not gonna say, that's the truth, you know, simple, it is bad. But there is some good in social media. We get to know more information about our world. We get to realize the reality in our world, how bad, how good it is, what's bad, what's good. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, we got all kinds of social medias. And I got all of them, you know, but it just, I feel like it depends who you add as a friend. You got to know who you're adding and who you don't add, you know. And as a parent, I'm not a parent, you know, but I guess as a parent, the things I would say is just keep in mind that you should not be competing for your child's interests. Instead, you should be bonding with them, trying to find, not automatically, oh, let's go shopping every time, but if she's, you know, your daughter, if she loves shopping, then take her shopping, you know, that'll make her happy, and you have her to see that, oh, this is bonding time, I gotta spend some time with my family, you know, make her understand that you are here and this is family time, you know, don't just try to force her into doing things, because then she's not gonna wanna be with you, she's rather gonna be doing other stuff and not wanting to obey what you say, you know, try to do reverse psychology, you know, that's what I would say, you know, but social media does have bad impacts, usually false information, misinterpretation, all kind of bad ideas. There are random people on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. They might take, be misidentity? Is that what it is?
Identity theft.
Identity theft, thank you. Identity theft, you know, don't want to do that, or don't want people to do that to you as well. And you always got to double check and make sure the people you add are people that you know, because you might be really adding someone that you don't know. And don't try to meet friends on social media. If you want to meet someone on live, go to your school, go to places where you actually know where your friends have met, and that's where you're going to meet them at.
Thank you. My name is Pastor Adrian Robertson, co-executive director of KC United Youth Sports Initiative. And this is my question to the young people, to the young men. From your heart, with all the issues that you say that young men and our young people already face in the community, what's it like when programs are started, you get plugged in, and they die? Well, I'd like to hear that personally. What is that like for you? People come in, make crazy promises, get you all turned up, and disappear. What's that like?
God,
Well, it's really disappointing. It makes you feel like no one really cares, or that's kind of hopeless, but you know that's not, because you still care, your family still cares. There's someone out there that still cares for you, even if it doesn't seem like it at times. Yeah.
Be real brief on that one. It's like being born and not knowing who your daddy is. It's simple. Somebody that you know was there, vanished, it's gone. It's hard on you. It's constant. You know, it's constantly on your mind. You know, that's something that you got to live with for life.
And
My sense is that there's a whole lot of organizations out there that are engaged on some level. My bet is that most of them don't work together. And my experience is that because there is no collaboration, that there is a lot less effectiveness. So I'm going to do something that's going to have my staff shoot me when I get home. It's time for us, if we're here together today, it's time for us to get together and figure out who's doing what, how it's being done, and where the gaps are, and fill them up. Efficiency matters, sustainability matters, covering the most bases matters. So here's a phone number, 513-3500. Ask for Chantel. Stand up, Chantel. Provide her with who you are, contact information, name of your organization, or you can email it to Chantel or to mayor@kcmo.org, and we will, within the next 60 days, present an opportunity to those who respond and who have a collaborative heart to come together, not to change your organization, not to tell you what to do, but to A, introduce you to others who are doing something similar, and B, figure out if there's not a way that we can do more by working together. So if you want to take advantage of that, 513-3500, you can email to mayor@kcmo.org, and we'll get something started here that works to collaborate within the adult community so that we can better reach and hear from and serve the needs of our youth.
all right. First of all, we want to thank everybody on the panel, but in wrapping this up, this is a very serious issue. Our kids are dying and failing, and I truly believe the answer to our kids' problems and obstacles is all in this room. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and the one thing our kids tell us, they want a relationship. It's not our money. It's not what we can buy them. They just want us to spend some time with them, and you can change their lives. So again, I would like to thank the panel, all the elected officials and the youth here for just sharing from your heart and making this portion of the program a success. Thank you very much.